Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Inga Hansen, Managing Editor of MedTech Intelligence, and I will be your host for today's event, Realizing the Promise of Quality Automation, how Symmetry Surgical increased efficiency, reduced compliance risks, and increased awareness through quality process automation. We'd like to thank ETQ for sponsoring this event so we can bring it to you at no cost. We have a couple of housekeeping items before we begin. You are listening using GoTo's web-based broadcast system through your computer speaker system by default. There is no call-in number. If you're having problems with the audio, please try to increase your computer's volume. If you continue to have issues, please log out and reconnect. You can also message Veronica Allen through the chat box in your control panel to let her know you're having sound issues. Today's event will consist of a 45-minute live presentation by our speakers, followed by a live Q&A. You will also be able to participate in a live poll during today's presentation, and we encourage you to take advantage of the interactive opportunity. You can submit your questions through the question pane to the right of your screen in the control panel. You can send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect them and address them at the end during the Q&A session. If we do not get to your question today, we will follow up and get you an answer. You can download a PDF file of the slide deck from the handouts pane in your control panel, and please make sure to download the file during the webinar because the handouts will not be emailed after the webinar. Now I'd like to introduce our speakers. David Isaacson is the Vice President of Product Marketing at ETQ. He has more than 25 years experience in software product marketing and product management. David has successfully brought SaaS products to market for a variety of industries and high growth companies. He's worked for software companies such as Antiqua, VFA Accruent, and Oracle, where he led the product management team responsible for integrating analytics into the Oracle database. Tracy Newton Mapes is the Senior Director of Quality for Symmetry Surgical. Tracy is a quality management veteran within medical and OEM operational environments. She holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Tennessee and has a bias for process and efficiency improvement fostered from her time in lean manufacturing and Six Sigma program director roles. Welcome, David. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Inga, and it's my pleasure to be here. I'm excited that we're able to speak today with everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And so now we should be able to go ahead and get started. So again, thank you to MedTech and to Inga for hosting us today. We are going to talk with Symmetry Surgical in just a moment. And I'd really like to thank Tracy for joining us today as well. Really excited to have her as part of this presentation. Before we get to Tracy, I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick introduction of ETQ, just to give everybody a little bit of a background on who we are. ETQ is a leading provider of QMS, quality management systems, and excuse me, cloud native based systems that allow you to really drive your quality initiatives and quality processes to a new level. We have a very broad application portfolio of over 40 different applications and processes that really span the entire life cycle of quality management. This is based upon 30 years of understanding our customers' needs and building the solutions that enable over 700,000 users to take advantage of quality every day. We have a very broad-based set of customers, and I'll put up a slide in a moment just giving you an understanding of that. But what it really allows is for us and you to take advantage of the best learnings from a number of different industries and take advantage of those best practices and make them your own. And all that leads to an outstanding customer experience that our customers get to take advantage of every day, not just by using the software, but by interacting and partnering with ETQ on a daily basis. So as I mentioned, we do have a broad range of customers. They're in a number of different vertical segments, whether it's discrete manufacturing, food and beverage, electronics, medical devices, pharmaceuticals, process manufacturing. It is a very broad set of customers in a very broad set of industries. And as I said, by allowing you to take advantage of the learnings between different industries, it really helps all of us advance where quality management is today. And in fact, if you look at just a number of our life science and med device customers, you'll see a lot of big names, there's a lot of small names on there, but everybody is taking advantage of the life science capabilities and the medical device capabilities within quality management that the ETQ product really supports. And when we look at the challenges that life science and med device organizations face today, there are probably a broad number of those. We picked out a few here. Adhering to FDA regulations, making sure that you're submitting the right forms at the right time, and making sure that you're collecting the right information and having the right audit trails and the right information for when they even knock on the door and say, okay, audit time, you want to be prepared. Beyond that, it's mitigating quality and compliance risk in general, because it's not just the FDA, but consumers, the markets in general, not just in the US, but worldwide as well, that makes sure that you're protecting that compliance and therefore protecting your brand's value. Right? Once a quality problem gets in the marketplace, these days with social media and the instantaneous communication that exists, it's really hard to put that information back in the bottle and to clean it up. It's a major effort for most organizations to go back and try to restore their brand equity, their corporate equity, and therefore you want to avoid having those issues in the first place. So how does a proven quality management system support that? Oh, too far there, sorry. Let's go back up a slide. Here we go. So in terms of a proven quality management system, what we want to do is standardize processes across the entire product lifecycle. And it doesn't matter if you have one location or multiple locations, you want everybody on the same page using the same information for the same processes. That's where having document control and being able to approve those documents as you go really is important. On top of that, as you're doing your day-to-day operations and your day-to-day jobs, you collect a lot of data. And so you want to be able to have advanced analytics that allow you to see the trends and what's going on in the organization from a quality perspective, and therefore be able to take more informed decisions. I mentioned a little bit about compliance with the FDA, but whether it's ISO 9000, FDA regulations, submitting MedWatch forms through an EMDR capabilities, medical device reporting, whether it's doing MIR through the EU, you want to have a system that can support that activity in an automated fashion. And being able to do this on a global basis to maximize profitability, whether that's not only what's going on within your organization, but also really dealing with suppliers and the whole supply chain issues that we hear about now on a day-to-day basis. How do you maintain the maximum flexibility to adapt and adjust when there are supplier issues? Whether that's improving the quality, working with them on corrective actions, reducing time to close those actions, being able to make everything more productive and therefore see a return on the investment that you make on a day-to-day basis. So that's a little bit of an overview of ETQ and a bit about where we see, quality management systems in general helping life science organizations. Now, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Tracy, who's going to talk a bit more about Symmetry Surgical. Sorry about that, Tracy. Symmetry Surgical and your quality journey. Over to you, Tracy.
All right. Okay, I'm hoping everybody can see my screen now.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So I just wanted to say hi. Thanks for everybody for joining today. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity that ETQ has given us to share a little bit about our journey at Symmetry Surgical and some of the successes that we've seen from using the ETQ system. Inga shared a little bit about myself and my history. I am the Director of Quality for Symmetry Surgical. I've been in quality management at Symmetry for about 8 years now in the medical industry. I did not work in the medical industry previously, so I have a little bit of a perspective to share from where the software can be used in other applications as well. I am a mechanical engineer from the University of Tennessee, and my experience and background has been both quality management, but also process improvement, operations, maintenance, as Inga said, with kind of a little bit of a bias for efficiency improvements and remediation activities to help organizations forward and improve their processes. A little bit about Symmetry Surgical. We're a surgical instrumentation and solutions company that has a long history of trusted brands that are high quality. We focus on innovation. We're focused on customer service, and we support a lot of different surgical specialties and sites of care, both acute and non-acute. Our mission is to elevate surgery for life. Our vision is to play a vital role in surgical procedures worldwide. We do service a market both in the US and worldwide through direct customer sales and through distributor networks. And I'll share a little bit more about the company size and our customer base in a minute. Our principles are to get results, but to get them in the right way. And our values are based on trust, teamwork, passion, excellence, and innovation. And when we look at the values and the principles that we work by today, where ETQ kind of plays in with our organization is really a focus on excellence and innovation. We believe that ETQ has helped us be innovative in how we look at quality systems and compliance. And certainly you heard David talk a little bit about compliance and excellence and adherence to the standards. We believe ETQ has served a role to help us reach that level of excellence and compliance that we strive for. For Symmetry Surgical, our portfolio and our company today, and I think this is important to share with the group today because we are a small company, and I think we're a case study in how ETQ can not only service some of those big companies that you saw on David's slide presentation, but it can also serve well for a smaller player in the market. We sell about 26,000 instruments, so we have a very diverse portfolio. We service a lot of different types of surgery and solutions. We sell about 2 million devices a year, and we have about 14,000 customers that we service in our customer base. We manufacture, we distribute, we design, develop, we do a lot of subcontract management, and we do private labeling for some of our customers as well. Who we are is a small company of 4 sites of operations, only about 250 total employees, and we only have about 6 quality engineers across the company. So again, we're small, but we've been able to leverage ETQ to really help us forward our progress. For those of you who are on the line, and there may be a mix of folks that have some knowledge of ETQ and those that don't, so I wanted to touch on just the general benefits of ETQ to start with. And this is kind of how Symmetry saw the software package initially and why we elected to leverage ETQ to further our QMS system. It's a configurable QMS system that, as you heard David say, offers about 40 out-of-the-box functions. And kind of standard processes that you would use not only in the medical industry, but in many industries that are just quality systems basics. It's workflow based, so it allows you to route information for both creation, for action that needs to be taken, for review and approvals, for document storage, or simply just for notification or awareness to folks that need to know activities or events are occurring. You heard David talk about that it's a common platform that you can deploy across multiple sites. What makes ETQ very attractive for someone with multiple sites is you can have things that are site specific, or you can have harmonized information or processes across multiple sites. So it gives you the flexibility for a site to have some independence or differences, but also to be part of a corporate structure as well. The database that it offers is a way to better manage and make information available across the organization at multiple levels. Easy to use, easy to access, so everyone from your CEO to a person on the floor can research and find information in the system that they're looking for with very little effort and some very easy search functions to use. And so where Symmetry saw the system playing in is really an enabler. It's an enabler for work and remote work and support, which has become more prevalent for all of us recently. It helps us leverage efficiency gains. Certainly, it's part of going paperless, harmonizing across those sites. It's helped us with compliance, information availability, and it's also helped us. We're going through a new integration today of an acquisition. We're seeing that it's making acquisitions easier to integrate as well today. When we started our ETQ journey, one of the things or one of the goals that we had initially was very simple in nature, which is just to get off of file servers, hard copies, manual records, and we looked across our QMS system, and what you see here on the left are all the things that we saw were inefficient in how we were managing and tracking on spreadsheets. And they were identified for things that we wanted to leverage ETQ to manage. And so we began our journey back in 2015. And I'm going to quickly work through this because I've got some more details on another slide. But we started our journey back in 15 with simple document control, and then quickly began to progress other things that we'd identified in the system as attractive to manage in ETQ, like NCMRs, CAPAs, validation documentation, complaint handling, calibration tracking, preventive maintenance, customer feedback that was non-complaint related. And for 2022, we've already began our journey with transitioning our organization to using the training management system and confirmation testing. So that's kind of where we're at today and the journey that we've taken so far. For plans moving forward for the rest of the year, we're looking at continued expansion of document control, expanding training management to other sites, moving supplier management into the system, looking at the audit module and tracking our internal and supplier audits in the system, picking up temporary deviations within the system, managing our customer documentation agreements, and finalizing some harmonization across all sites. One of the things we have our eyes set on for 23 and beyond is also to look at our tech files and see how we can leverage the system, the document control system or module within the system, and things like the FMEA module and other functionality to begin to harmonize and assimilate our tech files within ETQ as well. A little bit more detail about our journey is kind of how we got started, and kind of a mix of what our principles were that's kind of helped us be successful along the way. We actually inherited the ETQ system when someone acquired us prior to 2015. They were already on a few of the modules of ETQ, and so we did have some benefit to learn from an experienced resource and an organization that had already tried and adopted some modules in the system. So we quickly picked up document control, which was fairly easy, Someone had already done the heavy lifting for us there, and we were able to integrate into the system quite quickly. Around 2016, however, we were divested from that organization and kind of out on our own. And so we looked at ETQ through it a little bit of a different set of eyes and independently, as we would have to manage it ourselves. And so we quickly decided that for a smaller company, that a key to success for us would be to adopt a business philosophy to use the system more in an out-of-the-box capacity with less customizations, because we just didn't have the depth of the organization to configure the system for every nuance about every site. So by adopting that philosophy, we rolled some modules back with the modular promotion tool to the out-of-the-box functionality, and then began to pick up steam. We quickly put in NCMR, SCARs, CAPAs, and risk assessments with very, very little configuration, mostly out of the box. We kind of took a break then because we had our eyes set on training management and testing confirmation as one of the big wins that we could take advantage of with the system. So we stopped and adopted the 2020B version, did an upgrade. We added the training module to our system, and we had to do some SQL version patches because we're on a different version of SQL than is maybe more mainstream. But after all that was done, and we were doing 2 company acquisitions, we then in 2021 were able to pick up steam again and re-energize our efforts for ETQ. So since that time, we've expanded document control to pick up validation, management, and tracking. We've implemented complaint handling. We've implemented the customer feedback module for non-complaint related items. We've implemented training management and comprehension testing, the calibration module, preventive maintenance, and we initiated a rollout to a new acquisition. So after the 2020 upgrade, we certainly have been full steam ahead. There's one thing here that I wanted to point out that I think is important, is not everything about the system is for everybody. I'm sure ETQ would like for everybody to use all features and take full advantage, but again, because we were a small company, not all features were for us. So we tried project control, and I think it's important to note that we assessed it, we trialed it for a couple months, and we decided that the value for that particular module was not worth the effort that we put in. So I think that's a good learning. Assess the system, evaluate what works for you, and don't mandate everything, pick up what's of a value. Looking ahead, we are moving supplier management, rolling out training management to other facilities. We are picking up regulatory documentation, all for the rest of the year. 2023, looking ahead, was where we were looking at the audits, the alerts and deviations, customer management, more tech file, and more training rollout to other facilities. When we look beyond 2023, we believe we'll have picked up most of the out-of-the-box modules that provide us the most benefit, and we'll talk about those benefits in just a second. But we believe we'll be at the point then where we want to look at rolling out some workflows that are more custom to us. We think our skill set will be more advanced, and we think we'll be ready to adopt that functionality. And where we see it playing the biggest role for us is where we have an in-house developed approval process for some of our master data in a different SQL designed change control process. We want to move that into ETQ as a better platform with better validations and more defendable to our regulatory notified bodies. Just to share a little bit of the benefit that we've gotten out of the system lately, that we believe you as a customer could get as well, is for complaint management alone. We've estimated we've saved about 40 engineering hours a month by having everything consolidated at fingertips and getting rid of some paper documentation. We've eliminated manual document control, saving paper work instructions at point of use. Our technicians are now trained on the system and how to leverage, and everyone has a sign-on, saving 3 hours of engineering time a month. Training management and testing confirmation has been a huge win for us just over the last couple months, and we already see that we're saving 10 hours of engineering time a month as a training coordinator for that. I also wanted to point out that by picking up the customer feedback, which was a request from one of our users in our organization who identified a need to track some non-complaint related feedback, we identified a hidden rework factory that was affecting about 0.5% of our shipments. And now we've got data and information tracked so that we can see a pathway to actually solve the problem. The system also provides the option for error proofing. When you configure the system, you can identify things as required. You can set up standard pick list. And of course, you can set up a workflow so that all approvals are in place. And so some of the misses that we used to see on paper records or offline systems, we no longer have anymore because ETQ helps us be compliant. I think it's important to note that we also see with our notified body, they're familiar with ETQ because it's used at other customers that they service. So when we share that ETQ is the platform we use, they're familiar and they already have acceptance of the system, which has also been a hidden benefit. Going green is another benefit that you get that's on everybody's mind today as well. And it certainly has been a game changer for us to work from home. To share a little bit of our best practices or postmortem or insights, which could be of a help to you as well, I can't stress enough the comment that I made earlier, which is use the out of the box. You should force your organization, or our belief is that you should force your organization to justify why something has to be customized and why you can't change your practice to a system that's been assessed as tried and true with other organizations. ETQ's done a great job of programming the modules so that they are compliant, and the more you can use the out of the box, the simpler your adoption and your validations will be. You know, one advice that I would say is you can try to make everything perfect, but our goal has been don't let perfect be the enemy of good. The system is good as it is today, and we have found that it works exceptionally well. One of our recommendations would also be is to use knowledgeable and key leaders to assess your gaps, not committees. Pick a few people that know your industry and your requirements well, your procedures well, and let those individuals identify how to configure the system to work for you. I think the more you ask people what they want, the more they'll develop requirements in the system that will increase your complexity. Pick an owner that's a quality leader that knows the breadth of your system and more functionality within your organization. We've seen a lot of benefit by assigning module owners. You know, if you have an individual in your organization that's responsible for complaint management today, our suggestion would be that they become the complaint module owner within ETQ and be responsible for the protocols, the validations, the training, and the rollout. And by having a modular expert, we've seen that that's one of the ways that we've been able to move faster through our progression of adoption. And I would say also to sell, pick your biggest opportunity first. Doesn't have to be document control, but pick where you see your organization has the biggest opportunity and need for efficiency improvement. implement the module, and then really broadcast to the organization, either through town halls or metrics review, what the system adoption of your first module has done. And I think from that you can get support behind the system and the modules and increased rollout. A couple of the things that we didn't do extremely well, that if I was advising someone else to do, I would suggest to attend the conferences. We've been using the system for 6 to 7 years now, and I've only attended 2 conferences. I think if I and some of my teammates had made more contacts, attended conferences and training, I think we could have moved even faster. Use the support center. Don't try to solve everything yourself. As an engineer, sometimes it's fun to solve the problems, but the support center is there to help. They're very friendly, very helpful. They're very quick to respond. And the more you use them, the quicker and the better your resolution to issues are. Your account manager is always available. We didn't leverage our account managers enough in many cases. And certainly the materials, demos, and training sessions that are available on the ETQ Academy and library, we didn't use those enough. And I think if you do leverage those and use them, again, you get more tips, tricks, and ways to move faster. So in a nutshell, that's kind of our journey and what we view as the postmortem and suggestions for you as you maybe set out on your ETQ journey as well. So Inga, David, back to you.
Thank you, Tracy. And there's David's coming back.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. That was outstanding. I'm going to go ahead and just put the slide back up here while we get going to the next part of this presentation. That was really outstanding. I really liked hearing that story, Tracy. And I think it gave a good feel for, you know, what a reasonable quality journey is. I mean, you said you could move faster, but it seems like you've done a lot. It's not like you've been sitting around waiting for things to happen. But you go all the way back to the beginning. Real quick question for you. In terms of getting your senior management to support this, how did you start and how has that changed over time?
So Dave, that's a great question. Again, I mentioned a second ago, you know, pick the biggest opportunity and get a big win and try to publicize that as much as possible. Certainly has been a help, but getting the support of upper management, I think, is also a way to get the program rolling as well. Getting the system rollout on your strategic initiatives, getting the visibility of upper management has been a big help. I will tell you that Symmetry had what I believed were some key leadership changes about 4 years ago in our quality management and in our CEO leadership. And there was a recognition early on of the value of the ETQ system and a desire from upper level management to improve our current position, and with good strategic planning and their support is part of what's helped us roll out as many modules as quickly as possible. So getting top support and highlighting wins, I think, are the 2 biggest things you can do.
Okay, great. And on top of that, how do you communicate to leadership? How do you stay visible so they know what wins you've had and how you're doing?
Well, if anybody knows me, it's hard for me not to highlight what my team is doing. You know, I shout at the top of my lungs as often as I get an opportunity, either through emails. We have town halls frequently. We have monthly meetings. We have weekly meetings where we give shout outs, and we use every opportunity like that to share the wins and the savings that we're getting. So my suggestion is shout as loud as you can in every opportunity that you have.
That's great advice, great advice. At this point, Inga, we're ready to take some questions.
Terrific. So I want to let everyone know we do have a poll coming up, so that will come up on your screen. And why not here it is right now. So we'd ask you to answer that. If your selection is other, we'd love for you to type in what your other is in the question box. And while this is up here and everyone's answering the question, we will go ahead and get started with Q&A. One of the questions is, how is Symmetry Surgical using the supplier corrective action?
So there is a SCAR module in the system that is integrated into, it's really part of the CAPA module. And so when we have a internal finding or a finding through a customer complaint that's lodged, we will issue a SCAR to the supplier. There is actually an Excel template within the system that you can set up where you force a format of a response to a supplier for root cause, corrective action, containment, anything that you want them to respond to, and then you can load that response into the system so that all their information that they have provided is available within your database, again, at the click of a finger, so you don't have to open up attachments to read how the vendor resolved an issue.
Great, and you talked a little bit about how do you speak to management and encourage them to adopt or investigate automation. How do you get your employees on board with a change of technology like this?
I will tell you, it's almost the same answer. It's big wins and showing the values for the employees as well. You know, what we have found is, I think most of our technicians on the floor, just getting started with document control and the testing confirmation, I think they've actually been excited to do something within a system and not on a paper-based system. It's actually given them something new and different, but we've shown first-line leadership out on the floor the value of not having to trace down paper, and it seems like they've quickly jumped on board and supported the system. So, you know, it hasn't been that hard, I would say. It's the benefits that you get from the system are so obvious. We've gotten good support in our organization very easily.
Great. And when you're trialing new modules, as you've been adding on over the years, what is your process of doing a trial of the module and then gaining feedback from the users to determine whether this is something you want to move forward with?
We've done it a little differently based on the module. So if it was something, for example, the complaint module, which is more focused on the quality engineering group, we would simply use the test or the development environment to look at the out-of-the-box functionality, assess it, do a gap analysis on, you know, how we can make the system work, what modifications we would need, and then of course through the development, test, and production module that you promote through, you can actually do some configurations, continue to trial until you get the system to meet your needs, and then you can put it in production. So sometimes it's a small group like key users because the user group is limited. In other cases, where we have other users involved, like maybe the design and development, where I talked about the project management that we chose not to pick up, we let them do some mocks for real projects, duplicate their information in the development system, and then step back and assess whether the module worked for them or not.
Great, and those are the questions we have. If there's anything that comes in that we didn't get to, we will follow up. But I want to thank you, Tracy, so much for being here with us today and sharing your experience and Symmetry Surgical's experience.
My pleasure. I'm happy to share.
Great. And David, thank you also for being here.
Thank you, Inga.
And just want to remind everyone out there attending, please do check our website, medtechintelligence.com, for our upcoming webinars and virtual events. And we hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
you.